Welcome to the With Winning in Mind podcast. I'm Heather Sumlin along with my brother Troy, and he's excited to tell me a story. So here we go.
Yes, I came across this article. So every now and again, we get people that send us articles and stuff, right? And, sometimes you're like, oh, okay, I'll get to it later, and you don't. Other times you've got time and you can review it. A lot of it basically is just time. If you get something, okay, that's interesting, and you got a little moment. So we've been through a pretty rough couple weeks, been out of the office and that kind of stuff. And so dealing with some family issues and a death in my wife's mom passed away. And so when we're looking at, going through emails and texts and so forth, a friend of ours sent me this text and it was like, hey, I think you should look at this article. It's a pretty fascinating read. Tell me what you think. Okay, so the article was a sales article. It's basically on sales. A person's doing a speech in front of salespeople. And this individual that sent me the text is a swing coach in golf.
Okay.
But he's looking at, I think it applies to sport and ties to self-image. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read through it. So I'm reading it, and this guy is telling a story. He's at, I think, a Toastmasters, and he's doing a presentation, and he's telling a story of his dad when he was younger was telling him of a story that he saw a speaker at a conference that was speaking, and he was telling his story. And so what this guy's story is that when he was a junior in high school, he was basically a flunky. He basically was hanging around with the wrong people. He really didn't care about school, and single mother raising him and don't have much of a future. Why should I bother? Well, you're going to take the SAT. Everyone's going to take that. You're going to take it. So he takes it. Well, he gets the results back, and he winds up getting a 1480 out of a possible 1600. So you know what Mom thought. Mom's sitting there thinking, okay, you cheated, didn't you? So how did you cheat? How did you get away with this?
Because he's really not that smart.
Correct. There's no way. I mean, you're flunking out of school, basically. And there's no way. If this is true, you have not been applying yourself this whole time, which I'm sure she believed he wasn't. And
so she literally asked him if he was cheating.
Asked him straight out, were you?
Like, how did you cheat?
He's like, I tried to cheat, but you couldn't based on the way they did the test. There's no way I could
He literally says,
cheat.
I tried to cheat.
I just took it. So while I'm here, I might as well just take it. And I took it. And that's the score. So then he goes into his senior year, but he starts applying himself. He's like, well, maybe I can do something with my life. So he stops hanging around the people. He changed his attitude towards school. He started going to class, taking it seriously. And next thing you know, a couple months later, the teachers and the counselors are like, well, wait, maybe we missed the boat on this kid. Maybe he's been smart this whole time, but he didn't really apply himself. So now they're talking to him different. They're treating him different. Other students are treating him different. He winds up finishing, goes to community college, then goes to Wichita State, and then winds up in an Ivy League college. Fast forward to where he's an extremely successful magazine entrepreneur. And so the story that this guy's telling is like he's looking at his dad as he's telling the story. He's like, so basically, if you apply yourself, he goes, no, that's not the story.
No, basically, he was smart the whole time.
Yeah, I'm smart the whole time, and he just didn't apply himself. He goes, no. 12 years later, this guy gets a letter from Princeton University, and his wife's like, hey, you got this letter yesterday. You haven't opened it. It's from Princeton. Do you want to look at it? He's like, I don't know why they're sending me something. So he opens it up, and if come to find out, the SAT board or whatever they kind of go back and kind of audit throughout the year, so to speak, and they're looking at it, and it turns out that the year he tested, he was one of 13 people that were sent the wrong grade. He really got a 740, not a 1480.
That's like half.
Yes.
Like, that's literally half. 1480.
1480 to 740, yeah. Boom. You didn't even get 50 percentile. In the state of Texas, back when we were in high school, in the state of Texas, you had to get 800 or higher just to get into a state school. That was the minimal requirement to even get into a state school. So he didn't even make the minimum requirement. So it's like...
But if he would have known that then, he wouldn't have had any incentive to change his habits and attitudes. It would have just confirmed what he thought to be true.
Correct. So it's amazing from the...
So they should send everybody that score.
Well, I don't know if I have the same impact on everybody, because there are some people that probably legitimately, there's no way that's right.
Well, there's some people that might deserve more than that too. I don't know.
Like, I guarantee if I got a 1480 on the SAT, I would have said there's no way.
Yeah, I wouldn't
No
have
way.
believed it either.
Because I took the SAT 4 times. You could probably add them all up and not get a 1480. Okay, not that bad.
That's not
but
true.
that's not true. But
That's not true.
my scores were, I mean, I just know that it would be that way. Here's a person that probably wasn't applying themselves. Mom knew he wasn't applying themselves. He probably was kind of skating by just to get through things. And then he gets this and it made him start thinking, okay, what do I do here? So instead of him saying, yeah, this isn't right.
Right.
What did he do? He starts saying, okay, what if I did apply myself?
Like, this proves I'm smart.
Yeah. What I like about the article is where it really hits. Now, of course, they're looking at it from a sales position. They're like, okay, so what do people do when they automatically assume they're not going to get the sale? All of a sudden, they move on to something else. They just give up too early. They don't view things the right way. They're very negative. They're not, they're not positively going through and say, well, wait a minute, what if I do this and this? I might be able to get that sale still. They just move on and that kind of stuff. So it was really going from a giving up, quitting too early, negative versus positive, several different angles through this. But this is no different than anything. I mean, this is a person using this guy in academics into sales. Well, you could easily do that in sport and in life. And so what I took about it, what I really thought was interesting is the person, this kid, changed his attitude over the summer. And when you change your attitude about something, it forces you to have to look at habits and start thinking, okay, what do I need to do different? Well, he has to change his attitudes. Like, one of the attitudes he had is he wasn't going to school and wanting to pay attention.
Right.
He was just going just to check the box, and I just want to do enough to get out of here. We've met people like that. You know people like that. And you have the opposite. I want to be an overachiever. I want to excel. I want to fight for that valedictorian spot. Okay, but most of us are somewhere in the middle, right? And in his mind, he changed his attitude towards it. Well, then habits had to start changing, and then we see the becoming part. Because I'm thinking, because in the article it said that his teachers and counselors started to change the perspective on him. They started looking at it and said, wait a minute, maybe we missed the boat. Maybe this person is smart and has the ability to go to college and better himself, and we haven't been giving him due diligence. I think that didn't happen when they got the score. I think that happened a couple months after he started his senior years, and they saw a change in him. And then it forced them to have to say, wait a minute, maybe we missed the boat here. This kid is got some ability here. Let's help him. And then that motivated him. So it's interesting because when he changed his attitude, when he changed his habits, when he started to become a good student, other people changed the way they treated him, the way they viewed him, the way they behaved around him. That I thought was really cool.
I like this story. I like the idea that your present is not your potential. But Dad used to say your present's not your potential and your past is not a prison. And it's like, just because he had created this self-image of someone who didn't go to class, who hung out with the wrong crowd, who didn't believe in himself, who didn't apply himself, who believed probably that he wasn't smart enough to excel in school, so why show up? And then he turned that around based on a newfound belief, based on an inaccurate score, false information, but still he didn't know that. And so he started to apply himself and change, which kind of proves anybody can do it if they have a reason to. So I see a couple of things. Number one, changing your attitude about where you could head in life. Not just make an assumption that based on where you've been, you can't get where you want to go.
Yeah, where I've been, where I'm currently at, versus where am I going?
And having a direction, because I think maybe I'm just hypothetically speaking, it's possible that receiving that score let him picture and visualize and think about college. Maybe he hadn't even considered it before.
Yeah, and then he's probably wanted to reach out to other people that are going to college. Say, hey, what are you thinking about? What are your, what's your future look like? Now he's having to change it. Here's the other interesting part. The end of the article, the guy hits on, the person who's writing the article, he hits on that basically the person's been negative about school and the way he looks at things.
Right.
And he says, not, he doesn't mention the studies, but he says the latest studies are showing that negative thinking affects you 10 times more. Okay, now think about that.
Yeah.
Negative thinking 10 times more. That means you're going the wrong direction very, very fast.
Tanks you.
Yeah, so if you go the opposite and you go, okay, positive thinking, move forward in that direction. Now that's interesting because it wasn't that long ago, about 8 years ago, I came across an article in a local publication, in a local golf publication, and a sports psychologist, I can't remember where they're from or their name, but they were writing this article that positive thinking doesn't work, and they try to justify why it doesn't work. And I think the point that they were making is positive thinking in itself isn't enough. The way you talk to yourself can't just be positive. It has to be effective. And so I started thinking about it when I was reading this article and the story that we're talking about. It's like, okay, how do we handle ourselves? What's the environment we're in? So if you look at golf, it is socially acceptable to talk negative about your game to other people in the sport. It is. Archery is the same way. We work in both of those sports. You look at society as a general, we live in a country that it's socially acceptable to complain all the time.
Or to beat yourself up, or
yeah,
to talk about what you don't like about things, or complain about everything.
Yeah, and so you look at that and I'm thinking, okay, well, the reason why it's hard for people to look at positive thinking is, well, how do I do it?
Okay.
It's not enough. Well, I think we kind of have a little idea after this article. How does this guy go from I'm not a good student to one of the an extremely successful entrepreneur? He had to change his habits and attitudes.
Right.
Well, what is that? That's self-image. He made his self-image change about who he was and who he wanted to become. So how does self-image change? Well, it only changes one way.
Imprinting.
Yeah, imprints. So what are you imprinting? Well, if I'm imprinting negative imprints, it's going to keep me from going where I want to go. If I'm imprinting positive imprints, it's going to help me to go where I want to go. And I think the biggest crutch is, well, how do you do that? Everyone knows the difference between a negative and a positive. It's like, oh, you got done with a game. It's like, well, you played great. No, they didn't. They did not play good at all, right? Well, I'm not going to tell them that. I'm going to be positive about it. Okay, that's the part that I think the sports psychologist was saying is not helpful, because you're basically lying to the athlete, Where we're coming from is, okay, you played an entire game. There's no way the entire game you didn't do something good.
Yeah, I don't believe you have bad days. I think you have bad moments.
Maybe there's more moments in that day than others.
Yeah, and so someday you may have more bad moments than other days, but you never have a completely bad day, because there's going to be something in that day that's worthwhile, something in that day that was good, that you can write down in your journal, or that you can go home and tell your parents or tell your coaches or tell your spouse that was actually good about that day.
So now you go to class and you're focusing on making good grades. You finish that game and you're focusing, okay, what did go well today?
Right.
So you're looking from that direction of a positive view. So now think about it. I'm awake in the morning. I'm looking for that opportunity. And then at the end of the day, I'm reflecting on that opportunity and say, okay, you know what? I did take advantage of this, and this was good. And you're going to have some days where things just aren't going to work out. It happens. Things just don't work out all the time. You have some days that you're like, okay, man, I'm glad it's over. Glad today is over. Okay, but how much do we learn from those things? Like you have someone comes up to you and say, hey, you know what? You messed up in this area, and you're like, yeah, well, what am I going to do about it? Okay, well, I'm going to look at this. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. And sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do, but it's a learning opportunity to move forward to be more successful in what you currently do. Like you're late, you yelled at by the boss or by your coach or by your teacher, whatever the situation is, and you feel bad about it. And you're like, man, ruined my whole day because they just set the wrong tone, had a bad attitude. Okay, but if I reflected on it, say, okay, well, what am I going to do about that? Well, I'm going to be on time. Well, then now, guess what? You create a different habit of being on time. I know people they're never on time. Never. I'm like, you got to become, they're always late. I knew one person.
That stresses me out. I can't stand to be late. It stresses me if I'm late. I want to be early.
Yeah.
15 minutes early is on time. On time is late.
Yeah, but you grew up in a military family. And that was instilled
Maybe
as you grew up. Because in the military, they tell you on time is 15 minutes early.
Well, and that's what they say in pageant land, too, is like if you are not early to an appointment, you're late, or to an appearance, you're late.
Yeah. But if you create a habit that it's like me to be late, you're going to be
absolutely. You
late.
Keep telling yourself you're late all the time. You're late all the time.
Yeah.
Good point.
So I really thought that was a really good story. I want to share that because it made me think, okay, well, how do we think about results? Whether they're accurate or not in this example. And I don't know if the story is 100% true. I mean, supposedly it's true. The person's using it as to illustrate the idea of, look, here's someone that's just been negative. All of a sudden they get a positive result and they change the way they look at things. What they do, they change the way they looked at their life, and more from a positive direction than a negative direction, more from I'm going to do something rather than just, the world's against me kind of thing. Again, it goes back to habits and attitudes. And so when you're looking at, what are some of the attitudes that need to be changed in your life? And then, okay, what are the habits that I need to change to maintain that? I mean, you can get an attitude and make it last a day, but if you don't change a habit, there's no way that attitude's going to maintain over time. It just can't happen.
So what you're asking people to do is determine where you want to go and what are the habits and attitudes necessary to be able to reach that goal, and start to create those habits and attitude now with intentional, positive imprints.
Yeah, and I think it is an example. Why I got so excited about the article is it's another example of the principle reinforcement. Probably the biggest mental management principle is the more you think about, talk about, write about something happening, you improve the probability of that thing happening. Yeah. What do you think the conversations of that kid and his mom was like his senior year?
Oh, thinking about, talking about, and writing about success.
But it's totally different.
But yet junior year probably was thinking about, talking about, and writing about how much he's failing.
Yeah. How'd it go today?
So that's a good point to parents then too, because your kid's score doesn't necessarily mean that their potential is in line with that score.
Yeah. The other thing to look at is if my kid doesn't do well, not letting them complain about it. They come home and you ask every parent, I'm sure you're no different. I was this way. I want to know what was going on. So I was like, hey, how did it go today? I mean, you just want to know.
Yeah.
And we forget that if we're dealing with a teenager, they are already in a negative charged world. So life kind of sucks for them. And in some cases, life's great for them. But if they come home and it's not a good day, how did it go? They're going to just say, oh, all this awful stuff. It doesn't help them. Instead of just saying, okay, tell me what went well today, or what'd you learn today? That's a whole different question. Two different questions from two different angles that forces them to have to think, what was good today? Well, I had this.
Yeah.
Okay, what'd you learn today? Well, I learned I need to do this and this. Now, how much more productive is that? Then, well, how did it go? And they go, well, it didn't go good. Why? Why didn't it go good? And they're like, well, because this is this. Tell me more. I mean, it's like now you're going this rabbit hole of just defeating the self-image of that individual rather than building it. All because as a parent, you want to know.
Oh, yeah. You want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly because you want to know what's going on in their head. But sometimes it's better to direct them to be able to communicate with, okay, so maybe today wasn't a great day, or maybe there were situations that were unfortunate, but what are you going to do tomorrow to make tomorrow a great day? I'm sure my daughter gets tired of me, but every morning I tell her to make it a great day. Make it a great day. I don't say have a good day, or I say I hope it's a good day. I'm like, make it a great day. The way that you communicate with yourself, the way you communicate with others, what you choose to focus on determines whether or not that day is great.
Yeah, and she's going for a position next year, huh? Cheer captain?
She's going for it. I mean, she tries out today. So by the time people see this, we'll know what results are.
No,
But
so today, maybe
today.
it's going to be a great day.
I hope so for her. I hope it's a great day. We'll see.
I bet it is. She'll do great. She'll do great.
She'll be a leader anyway. Like there's leadership positions. There's enough leadership positions for each of the girls trying out. So no matter what, she's going to be a leader on the team. But I mean, I'm hoping she gets the position she wants, but we'll see.
Yeah. So I really kind of like the idea of looking at it from that perspective of making it a great day. It really forces you to think about it in a positive note right from the beginning. So when you walk out of the house, it's like, you know what, I have some say. Because the older you get, I think it becomes a little harder to have that positive attitude in the morning. Because some days, I mean, you wake up, I didn't sleep well. I could bounce like that when I was younger, but now if I don't sleep well, it's like, man, I'm kind of dragging, so it's a little harder to get motivated. And I think maybe that's a good approach to have is before you leave the house, say, okay, today I'm going to make it a great day. So I know I didn't get to sleep, I know I don't feel right, but I'm going to make a great day. I'm going to do something about it.
Yep.
Where I think when you're younger, it's kind of like you can just switch on a dime a little easier.
She was up early this morning. She was up at like 6 o'clock.
Was she motivated?
Oh, yeah. She was excited, and she's like, can you braid my hair?
Never ask you that.
I mean, not for school. Like, she'll ask me that for occasionally if her hair is wet and she wants it to be wavy. But today, she wanted me to braid specific type of braid that one of the cheer captain from last year would always braid her hair for, like, competitions, games, and whatnot, and do an amazing job. And not my specialty, but I tried. I did my best.
You could have had Dad do it.
No.
He didn't want to do his daughter's hair.
His daughter didn't want him to try. That would be fun to watch. But no. So,
I had a kid yesterday show up. It was crazy hair day. His hair was braided all kind of wacky way.
It was crazy hair day at his school?
At his school.
Oh, that's fun.
And so he had 5, 6 different braids or whatever. Kind of all over the place. And it was such a distraction. I finally told him afterwards. After we were done with the session, I said, okay, I just don't like the crazy hair. I'm sorry. I like your normal hair,
So that
man.
made you have
I
to
vote
work.
for the normal hair.
So you had to work on how you handle distractions during your session.
I was prepared because the dad warned me ahead of time. So he came in before his son, and he goes, I'm just going to warn you, it's crazy hair day. So I'm picturing he's got spiked up in a mohawk, and he colored
or maybe different colors.
Yeah, school colors or something like. I was not expecting Pirates of the Caribbean coming into the door.
Yeah, that's kind of cool though.
And but what was weird is all on the top, and he left the sides.
Oh, okay,
long.
Gotcha.
So I was just looking at them like, okay, no one would have done that. But then of course, crazy hair day, you're doing something crazy. So okay, and it was kind of fun, but it was just in the beginning. I was just I don't know why I had this picture of he's going to have it.
Yeah, so it was different from what you expected.
Yeah, he's going to have school colors or something, and it's like all he did was braid his hair, but it is crazy. All he did was braid it. He didn't go total nuts, but it was like, that.
It just looks weird.
That looks crazy. Well, it fit the narrative, right?
Well, that's the point. Yeah.
It's crazy hair day. Yeah.
So we should do crazy hair day at the office.
Sure.
What would you do?
I don't know. I want to go short.
Dad doesn't have any hair, so what would he?
He didn't have any hair. You're the only one that could do crazy hair day.
Tori and I would get crazy hair day. Oh my gosh.
I never got into the activities at school and followed all that, but
I love that stuff.
Oh, and they really get into the elementary level at Francis' school. They really get into that.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Oh, I gotta wear this. I gotta wear that. Why? It's like all kinds of things.
Anyway,
today's crazy sock day. Well, crazy sock day. How are you going to know the socks?
But let's spin this back to what we're talking about. When you think about it, if you're doing, whether it's crazy hair day or crazy sock day or whatever the day of the week is, it's something to focus on that's positive, that's fun, that makes the kids like talk to each other and start off with a good day.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that one.
So it's more enjoyable.
Yeah. I like that. There was one time I think it was Crazy Hat Day, and it was like I gotta have a hat.
I
And
wore the ones. Do you remember? I had the ones that
the
clapped.
clap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever happened to those. They had like the string and it would clap. I like those.
Yeah.
Where'd they go?
I like the
I
one,
need new ones.
I like the umbrella hat. I think those look kind of funny.
It's an umbrella on the top.
Yeah, it's an umbrella on the top.
Okay.
And then you got the you used to have the ones with the stuffed animals on the front.
You
I
had
one
a
of those.
Donald Duck.
I had a tiger too.
That's
So
right.
it was
We
a
had a
tiger.
buffalo, and I had I had Goofy, or no, maybe Austin has Goofy. I don't know. But anyway, long story short, we could rock a crazy hat day, crazy hair day, maybe not.
Crazy Hat Day. So
But no matter what, we're gonna have a positive attitude while we do it.
make today a great day.
Make today a great day. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you've enjoyed this, share it with a friend. Go ahead and like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and if you would like to learn more about us as we deep dive into more mental management specific topics, join our Patreon channel. We would love to have you as a member.